than having one mindset for one career, knowing that's the only thing you're going to do, then you get kind of screwed if you want to switch. So a liberal arts education is very good for undecided majors. It's very important for these people when choosing colleges. If they're not sure what they want their major to be, they can choose, for example, Grand Valley, since it's a liberal arts education and they have a broad gen ed requirement, and they're able to touch on all those before they decide their specific major. Also, studies show that employers are more likely to hire those with a liberal education over those without the liberal education, just because they know that they have that background with more knowledge than just the specific field, which sometimes is much required. Also, a liberal education is important because it teaches you the basic skills that can be learned and that are very important in life. Things that we would learn here in our gen ed classes about social issues, about eminent domain, about just little things like that are just really good to keep in your brain and just know for the rest of your life. And overall, we just aren't sure what the future will hold, so a liberal arts education is important because it means something, and it really proves that the student has a good background knowledge.
When you graduate high school, you have so many different career paths that you can choose from, whether it be going straight into the workforce, receiving a degree from a liberal arts college, or receiving a degree from another professional education program. So, if we have so many options, why is receiving a liberal arts degree seen as so important in today's society? If we have so many options, then how does an individual decide which path they should take? This idea can be shown through evaluating the positives and negatives of receiving a liberal arts degree. The most prominent positive is it creates an overall well-rounded student. This means a student learns a little bit of each area of study regardless of their major. This is appealing to employers because it shows versatility and diversity in their education, and it just overall shows that an individual is more educated, essentially. And it also contributes to higher incomes within graduates, which helps the growing wage gaps. However, just like everything else, there are negatives. Some of these negatives include an outrageous amount of student loan debt, and who wants to be in debt? It also shows a lack of professional training and or lack of real-life experiences. By that I mean liberal arts education just regurgitates information over and over again, and students just memorize it for testing purposes. But there is no real-life training like you would receive in another form of professional education. This also contributes to a lack of creativity in today's society, which is very important for people in positions of power or manager positions to help grow businesses.
Hello everyone, my name is Max, and I'm here to teach you a little bit about the liberal arts education. Now, the history of liberal arts dates back a long time ago. The first recorded use of the term was used during the Roman Empire by a guy named Marcus Tullius Cicero. Now, the exact classification or the exact definition, it varied over time. But the first four subjects, which was music, arithmetic, geometry, and astronomy, which is also known as astrology, they were grouped together and known as the quadrivium. After the 9th century, the other three remaining subjects, which was grammar, logic, and rhetoric, they were grouped together and known as the trivium. So initially they were studied and taught separately. The ideas of liberal arts change over different periods of time. You had the Middle Ages coming in, they passed, and then the Renaissance, and that brought more scholars and different artists into the field. The educational curriculum of humanism spread all over Europe, and it became really popular. And over the 16th century, It became the educational foundation, the framework, if you will, of the way schooling was taught in Europe and how it functioned. And everyone was taught these values way back then. Everybody knew these. Now, this guy named Wilhelm von Humboldt, he's from Prussia, which, y'all know that's Germany. He wrote about his own, educational model, and that's where you get the North American model, which we use. Now, listen to what he wrote. There are undeniably certain kinds of knowledge that must be of a general nature, and, more importantly, a certain cultivation of the mind and character that nobody can afford to be without. People obviously cannot be good craft workers, merchants, soldiers, businessmen, you get the picture, unless, regardless of their occupation, they are good, upstanding, and according to their condition, well-informed human beings and citizens. If this basis is laid through schooling, vocational skills are easily acquired later on, and a person is always free to move from one occupation to another, as so often happens in life. That's well said. He was a smart man. The gist of what he's trying to say here is that no one can live without liberal arts. It's a part of our culture. It's part of how we live. Honestly, if you want to move about in society these days, you want to be able to know different occupations and how they work, and liberal arts definitely allows you to do that. So the actual word, now let's get deep into this. The actual word liberal arts has a Latin origin, and it stems from the word liberalis. This translates to appropriate for free men, meaning that liberal arts education was a course of study considered essential for free citizens of Greece and Rome back in the day. So for you to be free and for you to have the most privileges back in society then was that you had to have as much liberal arts education possible. For them, that was really important. And if it's important for them back then, I think it's important for now. So Socrates, he was alive back then, and he's this famous philosopher. And he taught about his own unique method of education. And what he did was he had a question, discussion, dialogue type format that he used. And this challenged students to support their ideas and their arguments. It really stimulated critical thinking, and it was really good. And today, a lot of universities themselves, they use that same idea, and they like to stimulate, discussion and engage the students. And I think liberal arts really does a good job in doing that. It's a very effective way of teaching. I really like it. Liberal arts is really important. As you can see, it doesn't matter what occupation you are. For you to move freely about, I think it's really important that you have a good liberal arts education, a good overall thinking, and Grand Valley does a good job of that. But since we've been following the system for centuries, I think too that age tells us how important it is too, because we've been doing this for centuries and it's been working. So I think totally it's really crucial and relevant in our lives. Thanks again. Hopefully this was helpful.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you now have a better understanding of what a liberal arts education is. And from all my partners and me, thank you, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye!